Hi and good evening. Thank you for watching. I'm Shakil 5858. I am Buddham. Now the latest headlines from world channels and news agencies.
Purported leaked
mishaps.
I wish people would stop treating me like an idiot.
Not going out. Stream every episode ever now on ABC iView.
Today, anti-corruption officers in South Korea abandon an attempt to arrest the country's impeached president. The victim of a suspected fatal shark attack off South Australia's west coast identified as 28-year-old Lance Appleby. The FBI now believes the New Orleans attacker acted alone and has pledged allegiance to Islamic State.
It's taken beautifully. Big bow on debut. He's got two.
And Scott Boland tears through India's top order on the first day of the fifth test against India. Hello and welcome to ABC News. I'm Ruby Cornish.
Tonight, the horrific New Year's attack in New Orleans. Authorities describing the attacker as a lone wolf inspired by ISIS. Breaking news, a small plane crashing into a building. And tracking the first major winter storm of the new year. First, the chilling terror attack in New Orleans. The FBI says new surveillance video shows the suspect planting explosive devices before speeding through the French Quarter in a rented pickup truck. 14 people killed in the early hours of the new year. The suspect, an Army vet, authorities now confident he acted alone and was inspired by ISIS. In a video posted online, the suspect saying he had joined the terrorist group. Tonight, one victim in a wheelchair at the time of the attack, reliving the moment he was hit. And we are now hearing from the families of those killed as the spirit of New Orleans returns and Bourbon Street reopens. Whit Johnson in New Orleans. Tight security in place for the Sugar Bowl. The game postponed a day following the attack. Players and fans paying tribute to the victims. The mayor wiping away a tear during a moment of silence. Trevor Ault at the Superdome. Images coming in late today. A small plane crashing through the roof of a building. First responders now on the scene. The investigation into the Cybertruck explosion outside the Trump Hotel in Las Vegas. Surveillance video showing the vehicle sitting for 15 to 20 seconds before the blast. What we are now learning about the driver, believed to be a Green Beret, and what authorities say was found inside the burned-out truck, Molalengi in Las Vegas. And tracking the first major winter storm of the new year, the system stretching for 1,500 miles from Kansas to the northeast this weekend. Brutal cold across half the country, and it's going to stay that way for a while.
From ABC News World Headquarters in New York, this is World News Tonight with
Tonight, chilling new details in a deadly pair of attacks, the terrorist massacre in New Orleans and a Cybertruck explosion in Las Vegas. First, the new video of the truck attack on Bourbon Street that killed 14 people. The FBI now believes the ISIS-inspired attacker acted alone. Two improvised explosives also found nearby. And after it was postponed, the Sugar Bowl kicking off under heightened security. Plus, the survivor speaking out from his hospital bed, what he recalls in a moment of impact, and honoring the victims, including a former Princeton football player, an inspiring nurse, and a single mom. Also tonight, new video of that Cybertruck before the explosion outside a Trump hotel in Las Vegas. Police now saying the driver, believed to be an active duty soldier, suffered a gunshot wound to the head before the blast. What they found in the truck, and is there any link to the New Orleans attack? What the FBI is saying. Just in, the plane crashing into a building in California. What we are learning. The winter storm and Arctic blast we're tracking. Actor Justin Baldoni firing back after co-star Blake Lively accused him of sexual harassment. Baldoni's attorney on his new $250 million lawsuit. And after unspeakable tragedy, the musical tradition bringing Bourbon Street back.
This is NBC Nightly News with Lester Holt.
Let's bring in Robert Pizzini, retired U.S. Navy Master Explosive Ordnance Disposal Technician and Special Operations Officer. Robert, I want to play for you some sound from the Las Vegas Sheriff and get your take on what he's saying. Listen to this.
Other than the windows being gone, that's a bit more disassembled than it was at the scene, and the back area being blown off. There's no evidence of physical damage to the sides of that vehicle, and so the explosion that was in that vehicle sort of vented out and up, but it didn't even damage the glass doors at the trunk.
So with your experience, sir, what does it tell you that this explosion was somewhat contained to the Cybertruck? Could this have been much worse?
Well, thank you for having me on, Jackie. Yes, it could have been much worse, but I think the material, the fireworks, and the fuel, these are not high explosive in nature. They could be assembled and mixed with a precursor to generate a true high order detonation. But I don't think we had a high order detonation here. We had a low order or some other rapid heat reaction that resulted in a blast wave or a pressure wave, again, that didn't do as much damage as a conventional high explosive like TNT or dynamite or C4 or a true high explosive. So I think we had a low order and a lot of fire, and you can see in the video, you can see the fireworks, actually the kind of the secondary devices within the fireworks dispersing, and you see some bursts of color there as well.
Real quickly, sir, what does it tell you that police say you had a gunshot wound to the head? Do you think that could have set off this blast?
Well, there had to be some type of fusing device. Probably this was a very basic device from what I can tell. If the suspect was a Green Beret, and I served on a Green Beret team during my deployment to Iraq, they have much more sophisticated training when it comes to explosives. And this was a very rudimentary setup, it would appear. So suicide, obviously, there's some motivation there.
New details this Thursday night about the New Orleans terror suspect.
He was 100% inspired by ISIS.
What he was carrying in his vehicle and what police are still trying to figure out. The U.S. soldier believed to be behind this blast in Las Vegas. What happened moments before? When domestic abuse spreads, the calls to protect not only victims, but members of their support system too. Big cash, what Canada's top CEOs are raking in compared to the average worker. And from Holocaust survivor to the queen of gymnastics.
I wanted to see the world.
The remarkable life of Hungarian Olympian Agnes Keleti.
Global National with Donna Friesen, reporting tonight.
Cross to appeal for your support in helping the population. Every donation counts. To donate, visit croix-rouge.fr.
Good morning, I'm Oliver Farry and this is Daybreak. Investigators in South Korea suspend the execution of an arrest warrant for impeached President Yoon Suk-yeol after a standoff with security as they tried to detain the president. A court had on Tuesday issued an arrest warrant for Yoon, who has been suspended from his presidential duties since December 14th after his botched attempt to impose martial law. The FBI launches an investigation into the suspect in the New Year's Eve truck attack in New Orleans. They say they believe that the US Army veteran Shamsuddin Jabbar, who killed 14 people when he ploughed into a crowd of New Year's revellers, acted alone. Slovakian Prime Minister Robert Fico says his government may enact retaliatory measures against Ukraine after Kyiv cut off the transit of Russian gas through it. its territory. Ukraine's decision, which took effect on New Year's Day, leaves a number of Central European countries, such as Slovakia, facing energy shortages.
This is DW News live from Berlin. South Korea suffers a presidential standoff. The military and security service reportedly blocked police from arresting the impeached president after his attempt to impose martial law. Also on the program, New Orleans reopens Bourbon Street in the wake of the deadly New Year's Day attack as authorities investigate. Residents and tourists return to the French Quarter, and tens of thousands of college football fans gather for the Sugar Bowl.
Hello, good morning. It's 6 o'clock. On today's show, the FBI confirms the New Orleans attacker acted alone and says there's no definitive connection to the car explosion in Las Vegas.
And in sport, teenage dart sensation Luke Littler is just one win away from making history by becoming the youngest ever world champion.
It's Friday, the 3rd of January. US officials say the New Orleans attacker was a lone wolf inspired by ISIS. Now authorities face questions over security failings.
Madam, do you acknowledge that you let the victims down by not having an appropriate security plan?
Oh, that's not correct. That's not correct. We would disagree with that. We had a
plan that allowed an attacker to drive into a crowd.
And I take exception to that.
Chaos in South Korea as investigators fail to detain impeached President Yoon after a nearly 6-hour standoff. Also ahead, amber health alerts in place for most of England as temperatures fall below zero. The father of Zara Sharif is attacked in prison after being jailed for murdering the 10-year-old. Plans for a major overhaul of the social care system, but the government says reforms won't be delivered for another 3 years. And
double top for a 6-1 win. Littler is through.
Luke Littler cruises into a second successive World Championship final where he'll face the 3-time winner Michael van Gerwen at Alexandra Palace tonight.
hello, good morning, everyone. The FBI.
This is Asia Now.
It's 2 p.m. in Singapore and Hong Kong, 11:30 in New Delhi and 1 o'clock in Jakarta. I'm Paul Sik. At this hour, impeached South Korean leader Yoon Suk-yeol resists an unprecedented arrest attempt after an hours-long standoff. The operation was suspended due to safety concerns. Investigators hoping to find remains in the only surviving section of the burnt-out Jeju airplane. The tail is being lifted as South Korea's acting leader urges authorities to accelerate investigations into Sunday's crash. The FBI says the suspect from the New Orleans attack acted alone, marking a reversal from his earlier position. New evidence also emerging of the U.S. Army veteran loyalty to Islamic State.
Almost 2 years into the conflict in Sudan, many in the country are still grappling with the torment of not knowing the fate of their loved ones. Among them is Ahmed, whose son went missing in 2023. Ahmed suspects that he may have been arrested or forcibly conscripted. 1 million have fled the country.
The Palestinian Central Bureau of Statistics, known as the PCBS, estimates that Gaza's population has decreased by about 6% since the start of Israel's war. The decline of about 160,000 people puts the enclave's current population at 2.1 million. The Palestinian State Institution says that more than 55,000 people are presumed dead. The figures include Gaza's health ministry stats, which confirm more than 45,000 dead, as well as 10,000 others who remain missing.
The place of desolation. After more than a decade of civil war, the city today consists mostly of ruins. Considered the birthplace of the Syrian Revolution, Homs, Syria's third largest city, is a place of desolation. After more than a decade of civil war, the city today consists mostly of ruins. Considered the birthplace of the Syrian Revolution in 2011, Homs was besieged for 3 years by Assad troops. Some returning residents are now discovering the destruction.
CR Beloui's dad trained on Thursday at Nelson Mandela Annex Stadium on the eve of a decisive match against Al Ahly in the CAF Champions League. The Algerian side sits currently third in Group C, trailing leaders Al Ahly by 4 points and Orlando Pirates by 2, with Stade Abidjan at the bottom of the table. After suffering a 6-1 thrashing in match 3 last week, CRB's only hope to make it to the knockout stage is a win at home. The team are 9th in the domestic league after 11 matches.
Thank you for sparing your precious time. This is Amir Shakil. Have a good life. Bye-bye.